growth. Number 3 is the law of navigation. Now bear in mind that leadership is influence. If you can influence a person's life, then you're a leader. You know, because we influence people for good, we influence people for bad. You know, children at school, and you see those children who are influencing those people for good, influencing children for bad. They're leaders, whether they're children or not. We don't qualify at a certain age to be a leader. We can be a leader at any age, children included. The law of navigation states this: anyone can steer a ship, but it takes a leader to chart a course. Anyone can steer a ship, but a leader to chart a course. I can remember I was on a mission before Jenny and I got married 25 years ago. I went on a mission to Mallorca with a group of people. I think there was 8 of us for 2 weeks. We were there, and we had the opportunity of going on the royal yacht. I don't know how we managed to do that. I can't remember how and why, but a friend of a friend said that the yacht's in port. The captain is on board. Obviously, he doesn't do anything because the royal family weren't on it. He just sits there all day, doesn't do anything, and cleans it and cleans it and cleans it. And he just said, I happen to know him, and he said that if we want to go on board, we can. Well, I'm not going to turn up an opportunity like that. So we went on the royal yacht in Mallorca, and he said, "Cool, let's go out into the sea." So he gave us, each one of us, the thingy, what do you call it? I won't say the handle, but the steering wheel, that's the word, I couldn't think of the word. The wheel to steer the ship, I couldn't think. And we all had a go, we all stood there, and he put his cap on, because he put his cap on our head, and we just had a go. We didn't really do anything, but, you know. My point is, anyone can steer a ship. I ain't got a clue where I was going, but anyone can stand there and, you know, fiddle with the wheel and steer a ship. You know, many people, many leaders, many pastors are pastors by name, pastors by the authority, but they're not really navigating their church anywhere. They're in charge, they talk a good game, they behave in a good way, but they're not actually steering the ship, their church, to a destination. Yeah? Now let me give you this story. When I was at primary school, I remember studying this at primary school about Scott of the Antarctic. I don't know if you've heard of the story. Scott of the Antarctic. They were back in the early 1900s, I'm looking for the date. 1912 it was, 1912. There were 2 men, Amundsen, who was a Norwegian explorer, and Scott, Robert Falcon Scott. There were 2 explorers who both wanted to get to the South Pole first, okay? So, they're both leaders, because they've both got a group of people with them. Now let me tell you the story of what Scott did. Scott was Scott of the Antarctic, and Amundsen, okay? They both wanted to get to the South Pole first. Now, Amundsen was a Norwegian explorer. He had a desire to go to the North Pole, but then when he realised that another explorer had got there first, he changed his mind to go to the South Pole. He wanted to be the first man explorer to get to the South Pole. So he painstakingly planned a course. He studied previous travellers. He studied what Eskimos did. He studied the weather. He studied all these things. He bought equipment. He bought the supplies. He built a team of experts. He decided that he was going to get dogs to carry the food and the equipment so that they didn't have to. He paid a lot of attention into the detail of where he wanted to go. He was very thoughtful in every aspect of the journey, and he planned it accordingly. Then there was Scott, Robert Falcon Scott, Scott of the Antarctic. He'd been there before, but he'd not made it to the South Pole. But that was his downfall, because he tried once before. He didn't use dogs to carry the equipment. He decided that he was going to use ponies, horses, okay? And he was going to use motorised sledges to carry the equipment. Now bear in mind, this is the South Pole, it's freezing cold. The sledges, their motors froze. The ponies had to be shot because it was too cold, and with their feet on the ice, it was unsafe for them. So they'd lost the motorised sledges. They'd lost the ponies, so the men had to carry all the equipment. Okay, so he made a wrong decision. The clothing that he used was inadequate because it was far too cold. The goggles that they used caused them to be made blind by the snow. He failed to plan. The men got dehydrated because they didn't have enough food. They had frostbite, and there was insufficient food for the journey. The journey took too long, and when they got to the South Pole on the 17th of January 1912, Amundsen had already got there, and his flag was flying. Scott failed to navigate correctly, and the people who he was with, the followers, paid the price because every single one of them died on the journey home. They left the South Pole, Scott, and they started to make the journey back. They got insufficient food, they were dehydrated. Then they got scurvy because there were certain vitamins that they needed that they didn't have. Through a process of time, every single one of them died. Scott didn't even make it back. And how do they know what went on? Because Scott kept a journal of what happened, so people know what happened. There's a leader called Jack Welch. He says, a good leader remains focused. Controlling your direction is better than being controlled by it. So if you think of Scott, Scott was controlled by the circumstances that he was in, instead of what Amundsen did. He controlled the circumstances by his planning ahead. Yeah? As we know the phrase, if we fail to plan, we plan to fail. Yeah? And I've been in too many churches where we use this excuse of God's in control. Now, I tell you, we blame God for an awful lot in church. Yeah, God's in control. Is he? Well, he ain't doing a very good job in this place, is he? Okay? Pardon my sarcasm. And I'm not saying this place, I mean just the general, okay? We blame God for a lot of things, and we say, well, you know, and as an excuse, it's God's timing. Now, I'm the first to understand timing. Okay, timing in church, in Christian lives is essential. But we use that as a reason to be disorganized. We use that as an excuse for a lot of things. When really, what we should have been doing is organizing, planning, motivating the team. Now let me just go through something. Let us use the word plan ahead. P-L-A-N-A-H-E-A-D. And just go through several things that we could do to help us in church life and as leaders to plan ahead to be more successful. See, every past success and failure can be a source of information and wisdom to us. So everything we've done previously that was bad, that we failed at, but equally was good at, we can glean wisdom from that. See, experience isn't a good teacher. Evaluated experience is a good teacher. So, you know, we can go through all sorts of good and bad things and learn nothing from it. But if we go through those things and learn what our mistakes were, learn what we did well, learn how we can improve, our future will be better. So as leaders, planning is essential. Planning is essential. Now start with P. When we, as a leader, and when trying to navigate people and navigate the church that we're in, P, predetermine our course of action. And they might think, well, isn't that a bit obvious? You need to know where you're going. You know, I know I was with a pastor some months back before Christmas, and I said to him, he'd been the leader of the church for 3 years. I said to him, what's the vision of the church? He looked at me like I was speaking French. He said, huh? I said, well, you've been in the church now 3 years. What's the vision of the church? Don't have one. I said, well, how do you know where you're going? You see, I've had a couple of problems with a couple of the people in the church, and that's taken up all of my time for 3 years. You got no vision, you're going nowhere. Predetermine your course of action. Where, as a church, do you want to go? Where, as a leader, do you personally want to go? And I know this is a tough word for some Christian people. Think. Okay, that's an interesting word for some people. Think. Think, what kind of action do I need to take to get to a certain place? Strategy is the word. Think. You know, again, we will pray and we put all the onus on God, and what we need to be doing is thinking and reflecting, listening to what God has to say. Some people don't want to do that. They just pray, you know, it's in God's hands. There we go. I'm just going to move on. God will sort it. No. Think. We've got a mind. We have an intellect. Listen to what God has to say, of course. Think, reflect, meditate. Allow God to speak to you. Think about where you've got to go. What kind of action do I need to take to get there? When you buy a car, you don't just walk into a garage and just say, that one, do you? No. You think about what you want to buy. You think about what colour you'd like. You think about how much money you have. You think about how you're going to pay if you need a loan. Where do I need to get the money from? Then you think, do I need 5 doors, 4 doors, 5 seats, 7 seats? Diesel, petrol, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, 2 litre, 2.5. There's 1,000. We think about what we want. I know so many leaders in church don't do any of that. We've got a clue. And then we wonder why we don't go anywhere in church. So we need to think, plan, have a predetermined course of action. Secondly, the L. You know where I'm going to go with this, I'm sure you do. Lay out your goals. So where do I want to go? What do I want to do? What do I want to achieve? What's God saying? What do I want to do? Take the big picture and then lay out stepping stones as goals. How am I going to get to where I want to go? We need to motivate the people. We need to raise some money. If we're going to build a building, we need to get planning permission. We need to get an architect in. We need to look. There's many things we need to do. Lay out our goals as stepping stones to where you want to go. Thirdly, the A, adjust your priorities. Plan a course of action, lay out your goals, then as you start your journey, I'll guarantee problems occur. Yeah? You know, we've got 3 daughters, as you've heard. Why do babies have this clock that when you open the front door, they feel nappy? I don't know why they do it, but you open your front door to leave the house, and it's like, she just filled a nappy. It's like, couldn't you have done this 10 minutes ago? You know, problems occur. Yeah? People fill the nappy in church, don't they? Come on, you got to be honest. People fill the nappy in church, and it stinks. Yeah? Problems occur. So you've got to be flexible to make arrangements where necessary to deal with those difficulties. And sometimes we just have to adjust our priorities slightly. You know, some people, some leaders that I know are so inflexible and so rigid. It is this, only this, and nothing else but that. What do you say to someone who's like that? Inflexible. Again, we hide behind God sometimes. Yeah? No, I know God speaks. You know, God spoke to me and Jenny about going to Bible college years ago. And at the time, we were going to Australia. And we'd applied to Raymer, Australia, and we were accepted. And we were going. And we come back off honeymoon. And we just walked through the front door, there's loads of posts, and we picked the post up, and there's a letter saying, the Australian government have changed the law. You have to wait 2 years before any international student is allowed into the country. Not just Bible, not Christian, any student. And I'm like, 2 years? I don't want to wait 2 years. I've been waiting for years to get to this point. God, what's going on? And we were like, oh, forget this, we don't know what we're doing now. And I was reading a book one day, sat in the lounge, and God said to me, if you had a choice, where do you want to go to Bible college? Where would you go? I'm like, I'd go here. He said, we'll go and apply there. And I found Jenny, she was working at an insurance company. And I phoned them up and I said what I said. And I phoned them up and we went to South Africa instead. The essence of going to Bible college didn't change. But we were flexible enough to think, well, God, what's happened here? We've just adjusted our priority and we're going to go there. Now, some would say, well, God had his way because God didn't want you to go to Australia. He wanted you to go to South Africa. That may be the case. But you know what? We'd charted a course. And you know what? You can't move a ship that's not, you can't steer a ship that's not moving, can you?
No.
If a ship isn't moving, you can't change its direction because you're going nowhere. So we were going. And in the course of us going, problems occurred. We readjusted our priorities and we went to live in South Africa and had the time of our life there. We adjust our priorities. In church, you notify key personnel. Advise your key influencers, key implementers. Let them know what you're going to do, what you believe God is saying. And you know what? What's important? Get their input. You know, I have so many leaders, so many pastors who think that they heard from God, they know everything. No one can question them, no one can say anything to them. They know it all. Well, God bless them. But you know what? We don't know it all. We don't have all the answers. And when we're with a team of people, they can actually say something to you, which is like, you know what? I have never thought of that. That's a good idea. That is exactly what I didn't think of. Perfect. Yeah? People's input helps. Not everybody, I don't mean go and talk to every person in the church, just those key people. You know what? Because when you get Christian people together, as I say, 10 Christian people, you'll have 45 opinions, won't you? Yeah, in other words, we have an opinion about everything. So the key people, your key leaders, those people who are your close leaders in church, listen, advise them what you believe God's saying, where you want to go, and let them have input. Because you know what, different characters will always bring something to the party that you have not thought of. I'm wired in a certain way. It grieves me to say that, I'm only joking, it grieves me to say this, my wife will see it completely different. But she's always wrong, isn't she? Good face. I'm a man, the man is right. That's what some people think.
That's the problem. If you have got a negative attitude towards someone, then everything will be wrong.
Exactly. Exactly. Listen to other people's opinion. No, we don't always get it right. Come on, yeah, we've got to be, again, we have to be humble enough to admit we don't get it right all the time. We do make mistakes. But we're going through the process of improving and growing and learning. That's what's important. So, after the plan, the A, allow for discussion. Get those key people on board, listen to their ideas. They've got different experience, different perspectives than you, and they will mature your idea. So what God has said to you, these people are going to have input into that to give you a strategy. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? I never thought about that. You know, what I was part of one of the roles when we was pastoring down in Bristol. I was a project manager for a change of building. So we were going from a 6,000 square foot building to a 22,500 square foot building, massive place. And we had to do the dilapidation, in other words, leaving that building and putting it back to its original state, and then going to a new building with all the refurb that we had to do. Incredible pressure, nearly killed me. But there's things that I didn't remember. You didn't think about it. You start the plan, you start the project, then someone makes a point of the toilets. Yeah, the things that we always want to forget. And then it's like, well, how many toilets do we need? Can't we just have one toilet? Actually, men, we can have one toilet. Women, you need 20. There's always a queue. Yeah, so you got to, then you look at that, and then you think, well, actually, where are we going to put the toilets? And then someone says, well, actually, we've got to do this outside, and we've got to dig up the outside, we've got to do the... I'm like, I never thought of that. So the input from other people gives you advice. It matures your idea. They think of things that you've never even seen. Yeah? The H, the obvious one, head into action. Get going, get started. Stop talking. You know, sometimes we talk too much. My children's secondary school were given £3 million just short of 3 years ago. March 3 years ago, they were given £3 million to build a new maths block. 3 years later, they haven't done anything. They've altered the reception and they've altered the headmaster's office. I've actually built the new maths block. No. They haven't done anything. I asked the person this week, well, I've actually started to, 3 years later, they were given £3 million, and I was in some of the early meetings when I was a governor of the school. I'm not a governor there anymore. But when I was there 3 years ago, they were talking about it. They must still be talking, because they're not even started building yet. 3 years later. It doesn't take 3 years to get an architect. In fact, they'd already got the plans drawn up when I was there. 3 years later, they haven't even started the build yet. Yeah? That's why committees sometimes are a pain. We talk too much. So head off into action. Get going. And again, E, expect problems. Problems always come. You know, where there's people, you'll always get friction. Yeah? Different personalities, different characters, different ages, different backgrounds, different priorities. One thing's important to one person, another thing's important to someone else. You know, one person they don't care. What are you laughing for? One person doesn't care about the colour of the chairs. Another person is going to kill everybody if they don't get the colour they want. Yeah, I've been in churches. I've been around a long time. Yeah, if they have the piano over there and somebody wants it there, and they have a fight and they have argue because it's there and it should be there, and I'm like, does it really matter? It did to them. So when you get people, you will always get friction. Okay. So you've got to navigate those type of people. The A, always remind people of your wins. In other words, the job of the leader is to keep the vision in front of people. Keep them focused on their hope and the vision of where you want to accomplish, or what you want to accomplish. That piano is not important. The colour of the chairs, whilst it is important to some people, and what quality toilet paper you have, and what soap you have, to me, I don't care. To some people, it's important, but as a leader, you keep in front of them, we need to get this sorted. It'll be better when it's complete. Let's keep going. Yeah, you know, we keep that vision in front. We're dealers in hope as leaders. We've got to just keep people's spirits high, keep encouraging them. And then finally, the D, daily review the progress. In other words, we've got to keep our finger on the pulse. You know, you don't get what you don't expect. Think. In other words, you know, we think we've delegated a job to somebody and we just presume it's going to get done. Well, I've probably got a bad experience to you, because you've delegated to some people, nothing will get done. And you have to keep reminding them and encouraging them. Yeah, some people will, some people won't. But you've got to keep reviewing your progress to keep yourself on track as a leader, to navigate people. We don't want to all be dead in the South Pole like Scott of the Antarctic. That guy Robert Scott. Because we've overlooked certain things and we've used the wrong people. We've got to keep that vision in front of us. We've got to plan ahead to make strategies come to pass. So whatever that may be in church, you know, we look at whether it be the worship team developing, whether it be home groups. I don't know what exactly people do here. Whether it be home groups, whether it be feeding the poor, whether it be prayer, whether it be pastoral care, whether it would be teaching, whatever it may be, we keep the vision in front of people and keep people accountable so that things keep moving forward. Because if we're not careful, things stagnate. How many of us in work, you know, when you see someone's given a job by the boss and it never gets done? I used to work with loads of those people because they knew that when the boss asked them to do it, he would never come back to them to check if it was ever done. So it would be like, I'm going to do it. He's not going to ask me anyway, so I'm just not going to do it. And they were right. He never came back and asked if it was complete, so they never did it. They got away with it. Yeah, we can't have that in church life. It's called holding people to account, making people responsible for what they're doing. So, you know, people want to have confidence in a competent leader who will take them from where they are to where they want to go. Yeah? For me, I don't want to stay here. Yeah? I don't want to stay where I am. I want to go. You know, I look back at where I was at 17 I look back, I look where I am at 50, and I think, my goodness, I may have come a long way from there, but I've got an incredible long way to go. You know, by the time I'm 60 and 70 and 80, I want to be a lot further down the line than I am now. So the 3 questions that I will throw at you now, like I've done before. Of the plan ahead, what is acronym? Is that the right word? What is the plan? Acrostic. Acrostic, yeah. Of the plan ahead, the P, the L, which of those letters would describe you? Where would you be at in your leadership? Are you I need to expect problems? In fact, I need to lay out my goals. I know what God has said, but I've not done anything about it. I'm not looking at a strategy of how to get from where we are to where we need to be. Are you at the place where, you know what, actually I know all that, I need to just get other people's input into that? Where are you? And where are you the weakest? You know, do you not care what people think? I'm just going to do what I want to do. Or do you just expect people to do what you expect people to take responsibility, so you just leave them to it, when really they don't take responsibility, and you need to have a look at what they're doing to encourage them. Where are you at? And the third one, of that plan ahead word, where in your leadership, where in you as a person could you use that? Could you use that plan ahead at work? Even with your family? Could you use it in church? Could you just use it in your personal life?
This plan ahead, I think it is applicable even in the house, because we are leaders. Even at work, some people are leaders at work. And in church as well, we are leaders. So I think it applies, it is applicable everywhere. This plan ahead.
It is applicable everywhere, yeah. Most definitely. Because of time, let me move on. Let me move on to number 4, what I call the law of solid ground. It's an interesting one, because this is all about trust. Trust is a foundation of leadership. Trust. Everything we do as a leader should be built on a foundation of trust. Yeah? The bigger the foundation, the deeper the foundation of trust, the higher you can go. Now, you know, I teach on faith, you know, quite often, and one of the definitions of faith that I use will be trust. With a lot more, but one of the aspects will be trust. You know, if we don't trust God, that He will do what He said, how can we fully relate to Him? Because then, if we don't believe His word, then He's a liar. Think. And do you want to relate to someone who you can't trust, who is a liar? They say one thing and they do something else. They say something and they do the complete opposite. We don't trust them to do what they say they're going to do. They don't trust them to be. Trust is the foundation of leadership. And as a leader, you want your people to trust you. That you're a man or woman of your word. That your character is impeccable. That what you say you will do. 3 questions that I believe followers subconsciously ask about their leaders. They may not come to you in person and ask you, but they will be thinking this. Number 1, it's a relationship question. If I'm going to follow you, I'm your follower and you're the leader. If I'm going to follow you, do you care about me? And I'll just pick on Michael. Because if Michael didn't care about you at all, would you want to follow him? You wouldn't, would you? If you sat there and thought, Michael and his wife, they don't like me. They think I'm horrible and nasty. you'd be gone.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be here. Trust is the foundation of all things, relationship with God, but relationship with people. Do the leaders like me? It's a relationship question. It enables you to connect with them. And if we as leaders ever get to the point where we don't like the people we're leading, we should really no longer lead them. You know, a friend of ours, bless him, he said this as an opening line of a sermon. It caused chaos in the church, but I thought it was quite funny. He said, church would be great if there was no people in it. Church would be great if there was no people. What is, and everyone's like, you can't be a pastor if you've said that you don't want any people in church, and people had to go at him and argued and but they didn't understand the point. What he was saying was, if there's people in church, there's always going to be problems. If there's people in church, there's always going to be, there will be difficulties. When there's people in church, things will get messy. And we don't like that, do we? We don't want the messiness. We don't want the difficulties, but it comes with the territory. But if you like those people, and those people like you, it doesn't matter whether things get messy, but because of your connection together, you stay together and you work through those messy things together. That's what's important. That's what the question is asking. It's that connection that people are looking for. You know, it used to be said some years ago in the old seeker-sensitive books that you could read, you know, people wanted to feel that they belonged in church before anything else. And there is some truth to that, that if you go to a place and no one talks to you and no one likes you, you don't want to stay there. So you've got to feel as though you're welcomed and people like you. And then when there's that connection, you think, I'm liked here. If the leader likes me, I'll stay. So if we want followers, like people. Yeah, because we're in the people business, aren't we? You know? Secondly, followers want to ask of the leader, can you help me? Do we have confidence in the leader? Are they any good? Will you be able to help me in my life? Will you be able to help me improve? You know, there's a lot of people, I'm going to risk upsetting you, but you forgive me anyway. You can not. Anyway, the Catholic Church, people would go to the priest to confess their sin. And we're like, don't need that. How dare you do that? We go to Jesus only. Yeah, I understand all that. Calm down, calm down. Why did the Catholic Church put that in place? Because people felt that they needed to talk to somebody to confess. Does the Bible say confess your sins to one another? The heritage of that, where does that come from? It comes from the fact that when people wanted to get something off their chest, they would go to the priest, to say, Michael, I need to talk to you because I shot someone last week. They need someone to say, well, Michael can help me. Yeah? We criticise, I'm not here to debate for or against the Catholic Church, but I'm just saying is, why did they do it? Because people were looking for somebody they could talk to, who they could trust. Who would say, if I talk to that person can help me. That's why they did it. That's the history of why they did it. Now, I think that's a good thing. We could criticise them for a lot of things, but that's actually a good thing because they know they have someone they could talk to. Now, we have pastors in churches, don't we? Do people always go and talk to the pastor? No. Why not? They don't always trust them. I know some pastors, if you want everything to get around the church, you don't talk to them. If you want some advertising, free advertising done, go and talk to the pastor's wife. Because within a week, everybody will know. Sorry, not you. Everybody will know about your situation because she can't keep her mouth shut. I know. I could. You won't know who they are, but I could tell you names just like this of pastors where you can't trust their wives to keep quiet. Do I have confidence that when I talk to you, you're going to help me? You're not going to talk to other people. You're not going to gossip about me. That's what people are looking for in leaders. Yeah? Thirdly, do you like me? There's a connection. Can you help me? We have confidence in you. Finally, I've said this, can I trust you? That's your character. Are you a trustworthy leader? Because only trust brings out the best in people. Do people trust you with their life? And when people trust you, they will always give a greater level of commitment. When you at work, when I worked and I had people working for me, if they liked you, and they know, I could think of a job that comes to mind straight away. If they liked you and they connected with you, and they know that you were a trustworthy guy that would not tell everybody everything, you wouldn't do your job all day. You'd end up being the counsellor, because everybody would want to come and talk to you. You'd be like, I can't do that. I'm not paid to talk to you and be your counsellor. I'm paid to do a job. But they think of that person there. He likes me. I can trust him. He's not going to blab his mouth to everybody. Yeah, you're a leader. You may not have the title of a leader, but you're a leader in that workplace.
That's right.
Because I said leadership is influence, and you are influencing those people. See, leadership is not just about being the senior pastor in church. So, think of this. Now, I had someone say this, and I quite like this. I think you ought to do this, actually. I think this is fun. You know, when you go to the fair, and there used to be, like, you see these things where you hit this punch bag hard, and it tells you whether you're sexy, whether you're a good lover. Have you seen those where you put somebody into this? No, you're not. I'm talking to myself. Right? Okay. If you go to the fairground, there'll be a machine with a like a ball dangling from a piece of wood, and if the harder you hit it, this little machine will spin round. It's a load of rubbish, really. It's just to get your money, but nevertheless, it spins round, and it will tell you whether you're a good lover. It tells you whether you're sexy. It tells you whether you are unfaithful. It's just random load of rubbish. My point is, that's like a love meter. Okay? We need that type of thing in church. Not as a love meter, but as a trust meter. Yeah? So, this is what I mean. In church, adopt it. I think this is good. Adopt this in church. Everybody starts with 100% trust. I trust everybody, and everybody trusts everybody 100%. And that's the basis of how we live life. Then you let me down. You don't turn up. You don't do what you say you do. So you go from 100 to 90%. You've lost 10%. But then if you do, the next time, you're reliable, you go back to 100. But if you keep being unfaithful, unreliable, untrustworthy, it keeps dropping by 10%. By the time you get to 70%, in other words, 3 times, when you get to 70%, you're called into my office. Now, we have a problem. Because we operate on a basis of your trust. 3 times now, you're down to 70%. You keep letting me down. You're not doing what you said you would do. Now we need to have a chat, because you're causing a problem. I think that is an easy way to hold people accountable. Without you having to go and lay into somebody and say, oh, you're hopeless, why aren't you doing this? Everyone buys into the fact that we all start at 100%. In other words, we all start with change in our pocket, if I can use that expression. And every time I let you down, I spend change out of my pocket. I go from 100% to 90. Then I said I'll be there at 10 o'clock, and I turned up at 4 o'clock. I said I'll do this, and I didn't do it. You're down to 80%. Then you're down to 7. Okay. 3 times now, and the organisation is built on trust. Now it's that conversation. because 3 times. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think that's a very good idea because it holds people to account. Can I trust you? We demonstrate that we can be trustworthy. And some people, we demonstrate that we struggle in that area. So it's an ideal opportunity to hold each other as leaders to account, to work on that aspect of our character. So, of those 3 things, connect, character, what was the other one? Connect, confidence and character. Which of those 3 C's do you do the best? Do people know you as a person who connects with them because you like people? Yeah, do people have confidence in you that you will help them? Can they trust you as a person of character? Well, actually, I can always go to him. Guarantee that person will always be there for me. So which of those 3 do you struggle with? Because you got to be honest here. Just because we're Christian don't mean we like people. The penny didn't drop with some of you. Because some people are not people-orientated people. They are task-orientated people, and people just get on their nerves. You've got to understand the makeup of people. Some people are fluffy, and they're just people of everything, and they just love people, and they love that. Other people they're a nuisance. I've got to get my job done. Just leave me alone, get my job done. Stop talking to me, I've got to get my job done. Yeah, there's different types of people.
Yeah.
Some people struggle with people, some people love being with people, some are introverts, some are extroverts. Yeah, there's all sorts of... So where are you in those 3 C's? And which of the 3 do you need the greatest help with? Liking people, being confident, people being confident with you, the person of character. And I'll do one more, then we'll have a break. 5thly, the law of respect. Look, this is what I said at the beginning. People naturally follow leaders who are stronger than themselves. Remember I spoke about that leadership lead?
Yeah.
If you're a 5, people will be 1, 2, 3, 4 are the people who will follow you. It's generally not normal for a person who's an 8 leader to follow somebody who's a 5 leader. But it's the same with the law of respect. People will follow you based on your leadership lead. Followers are attracted to people who are better than themselves. People don't follow people by accident. They follow leaders who they respect. They follow leaders who they respect. So my question is, how do I gain or earn the respect of other people? This is a big one for some people, and for some people they won't get past this for quite a while. First thing you do, you respect yourself. Because if you don't respect yourself, you're not going to respect other people. Respect given to others starts with giving yourself respect, or valuing ourselves first. Now that's not selfish. I think, well, putting myself first, as a Christian, we should put other people first. I'm not saying that. But if you want to value other people, you have to start with valuing yourself. If you want people to respect you, you have to respect yourself. Because we can't give to others what we are unwilling to give ourselves first. Yeah? Now, you may be like me, you may not be. But yes, there are areas of your life which need work on. But I'm not saying that causes me to hate myself. I'm just aware that there's areas of growth that I need. But I still value myself. And I still respect myself. So when I walk in Tesco, I don't slam the door in somebody's face. Yeah? I was trying to reverse the car into a car parking space the other week, and an old lady came in and went straight in the space before me. And I was actually reversing into the space. And I thought, cheeky madam. So I got out of my car and just tapped the window and said, excuse, and I was polite, I wasn't, excuse me, I was reversing into there, you could see my brake lights on, my reverse lights on, and my indicator was, and I was literally moving. I wasn't stationary having a chat, I was moving, and she flew into, straight in. I had the biggest load of abuse you'd ever imagine. This old lady, she looked about 95, called me every name under the sun. Every name you could imagine. 2 fingers in the air, shouting and screaming and bawling at me. Everybody in the car park, there's about 8 people in the car park, they all stopped and looked. I thought, what can you say? So I walked off. 2 days later, I'm driving on the estate. A car comes down the road like Batman, flying down the road, overtook somebody, swerved round the corner, swerved in front of my car. Have a guess who was in the car?
The same lady.
The same old lady. This old lady. She had no respect for anybody else on the road. She had no respect at all. It was all about her. What she wanted, where she wanted to go, you know. What can you say to somebody like that? But as people, we can do something about it ourselves. Yeah? We've got to respect other people. Secondly, how do I gain respect from other people? Sounds obvious. How do I gain respect for other people? We've got to respect people first. That sounds too simple, doesn't it? Thirdly, we've got to respect what we do. Show that what we do is important to us. So we're Christian people, and we're doing a soup run, or we're going on the streets to work with the homeless. For those people to respect you and us, we don't throw the food in the face.
No.
We go to them, and yes, we give them food, but then we show more than that. Maybe clothing, maybe try and get them into a shelter. We give more than just giving them food on the street. We're showing them more respect than just say, well, actually, man, stay on the street and I'll give you a tuna sandwich every day. But you can stay there because I'm going to go back to my central eating home. But we show them respect by, yes, we give them food, of course. Maybe we give them clothes. Maybe we say, come on, I've already organised shelter for you. Let me take you to the shelter. We show them respect, and we show them that what we do is important to us, and therefore it's important to them, so we're showing them respect to help them. If you want to gain people's respect, you've got to be full of courage. You can't go to that person on the street if you haven't got any courage. It takes courage to go to somebody who needs help, to say, look, come on, I've got a solution for you. And they may give you abuse. You don't know. I worked for a short time with Birmingham City Mission, which is a homeless organisation in Birmingham, obviously. And some of the people you met, and some of the meals you served them, and the way they behaved, it was on a different planet for behaviour and everything. I think everyone, this is just me by my compassionate side, everyone should go to something. In fact, what I did for 2 weeks in the church, I arranged for people to go at lunchtime every evening to the shelter to feed people, to cook and to serve people. Because I wanted people, not as a goldfish bowl looking at people, but I wanted them to experience that, because it will make a difference to us. It helps us respect those people more, and then we gain their respect because we are bothering with them. But it takes courage. And then, finally, before we break, if you want to gain people respect, we've got to be successful in what we do. It sounds a bit, if you're a pastor of one person in the church, people are not really going to think you're very successful, are they? Like I said, that pastor who gave himself a 9 out of 10 for his leadership ability, had 5 people in his church other than him, and 4 of them were his children. And he'd been doing the church for years. No one ever came. There's something wrong. No, you could say, well, he's been faithful. 4 people, 5 people, him and his 4 children, and then 1 other lady. If you want to look at that, you think, with that, is that successful? Maybe to him, I'm not going to judge. But surely, if you're a leader, people will follow you. That's the crux of it. If you're a leader, people follow you. If there's no one following, you're not a leader. Because you got to lead. Who you leading? The donkey, the dog. You know, you lead people. So every time you go up a level as a leader, because we talked about that leadership ladder, you are positioned to take other people with you and attract other people with you. So if you go from a 5, so Prudence goes from a 6 to an 8, Miles went from a 2 to a 4, 3 to a 5, something like that. Whatever you go at, when you increase your leadership ability, you are positioned to take other people with you, because people will follow you. Respect yourself, people will follow you because you respect yourself and them. So just to finish, first to break, where are you the strongest in gaining respect from others? Where are you the strongest in gaining respect from other people? And the obvious next question is, where are you the weakest? Where are you the strongest in gaining respect, and where are you the weakest? Well, actually, I don't really respect me. Actually, I really don't care about people. But some people don't. That's the thing. And finally, how can you make your weaknesses stronger? How can you make your strengths stronger? You know, as a leader, to be courageous, you have to make tough decisions. That's what a leader does. You make tough decisions. You can't shy away from that. You know, again, I know a pastor who said to his leaders, to his elders, the pastor had a problem with a person in the church. So the pastor said to the elders, of which there were 2, but the elders needed to go and talk to him to sort out the problem. And one of the elders came to me and said, what do you think? And I said, well, my comment would be to the pastor, I actually don't have a problem with that person, neither does the other elder. You are the one with the problem, you're the one who needs to go and talk to him. Yeah? But he didn't want to. He had to be tough in making decisions. He had to be tough in dealing with issues. And if he's too weak to go and deal with an issue with a person, why is he the leader? Maybe he should take one of the elders with him if he needed moral support. But if he had a personal issue with somebody, then he should be full of courage and go and deal with that issue himself. You know, are we those type of people who are willing to be tough and make tough decisions where we have to? So those are the 5 things we've looked at. I've got a few more, but we'll break, like we said, and then we'll have, I don't know how long Michael wants.
Lunch.
Okay, how long? Till?
We can go up to 2.
Till 2. Okay, so we'll go till 2, and then we'll come back. And when we come back, we've got that exercise we've got to do. 50 press-ups, sit-up, no, not that exercise. We've got an exercise to do in